Hi there traders, Marty here from Active Indicators. Today we're going to have a quick look at the basics of the GeoKing indicator for NinjaTrader. So I've just added GeoKing to the chart here. You'll notice it's automatically found this small swing. Down the bottom, this black writing is actually getting in the way of our grid. So I'm going to remove that. So right click on the chart, click Indicators, select GeoKing on the left. On the right hand side under Label, we have this text here. Remove that text and click OK. Now this frame here, I'm just going to move that down to give us a bit more chart space. So just grab that and pull it down. Going over the toolbar buttons up the top now from the left hand side. Firstly, we have the Show Grid button. So turning that to the off position, you'll notice the grid has disappeared now. Not so useful when GeoKing's added to the separate frame here, but if GeoKing was added to the same frame as the chart, we could then click it on and off and save the extra space here. Probably more useful if you have maybe 4 charts on the one screen. So let's turn the grid back on. This live grid button, I might just come back to that a bit later after we go through the ratios. The sidebar button here, we'll turn this sidebar on the right here off if you'd like to save space once again. SD plus and SD minus. Now SD plus makes the swing larger, so watching that swing size, you'll notice each time I press it, it gets bigger. And the SD minus, let's make it smaller again there. Might actually just choose this swing size and leave it there. The ZZ1 button here stands for zigzag, so we can choose to display this zigzag indicator or to turn it off. So it's off. Next button is the letters button. So if you want to see these letters that the grid's referencing down here, just push the letters button on. You can see all these letters are now labeled. Turning that off. The next 4 buttons here are all for the testing mode. Turn testing mode on by pushing the testing mode button. SW to go back 1 swing in time. This blue arrow is marking where you are, what bar you're looking at. Forward 1, go forward 1 bar during backtesting mode. See the blue arrow moving 1 bar every time I push that. Forward 10 bars if you want to get from one point to another faster. And when you finish testing mode, just press the testing mode button again to return to the current market. Now having a look at the side toolbar on the right here. The first button is equal CN, stands for equal length correction. So turning that on, you'll notice this pink line here. Now that represents this move here happening again from this point here. Can be good support and resistance areas. Turning that off, turning the equal length push button on now. Same as the correction, except we're marking the impulsive move, so it would be from here to here and from there to there. We've actually already surpassed that 1-to-1 point, so that line has disappeared. If I make this swing size a little bit larger, you can see now we have the equal length push line here, so that's from here to here and from there to there. Next we have the TDM button, stands for text drive markers, so turn that on and you'll get the measurements for each swing. So plus 86 points, minus 346 points, and so on. The next button's the match up feature. Turning that on. Now this basically means that we have more than one ratio matching up in a very small tight range or at the same place. The red corresponds to the resistance down here, the blue corresponds to the support. Tells you the price that it's at and how many points we're currently away from it, and also the ratios that are both meeting up at that point. So here we have the resistance 1, we have deviation 1 XCD. So following the letters, let's turn the letters on up there. XCD is XCD, and it's a 38% retracement up here. And it's also matching up with a CDAB 1-to-1, which is the correction 1-to-1, this line that we mentioned before. You can't actually see it, I've just added it, but it's just behind the arrows there. Right. Turn this correction off. Next here we have FT, stands for Fibonacci time. Turn that on and we'll see the time cycles. So that was a 78.6 time cycle there. Just turn backtesting mode on quickly so you can have a look at a few more that we might have seen. So this high here happened on a 78.6 once again. This dark pink area is the two swings that we're modeling, so from between here and here. And then the light area is the 78.6% of that first length there. So turn that off and I'll turn testing mode off, take us back to the current market. Next button is S/R, stands for support and resistance. Now there's two kinds of support and resistance here. We have the highs and we have the lows that have been broken through and haven't been surpassed by a decent amount yet to invalidate them. So this low here got broken through and hasn't been retested. This line got broken through here. It's only been retested a little bit, hasn't been closed above. So it's still valid. We also have automatic trend lines. This actually hasn't passed enough to invalidate this trend line yet. This trend line will disappear any moment due to this break. The most amount of trend lines that can be displayed at any one point is two. One downward trend line and one upward trend line. At the moment there's no valid upward trend line to be shown from these swings that we've found, so it's not displayed. Now this set of buttons here is manual support and resistance lines. You might not want all these lines clogging your chart, but you might deem one line to be significant. So for example, if we want to display this line here and none of the rest, that's the second high back, so first high, second high. We'll turn H2 on here, so we'll turn the S and R's off and we'll turn H2 on there. Right. That's the sidebar. Now just to go back to the live grid button here, the difference between having live grid on and live grid off is these measurements here, these white measurements. They're telling us how far the market is away from this ratio. Now if live grid's on, it's telling you, this measurement here is telling you how far it is away from where the market currently is. If live grid is off, it's telling us how far it is from the furthest progress through that swing. For example, these blue letters here are representing this swing pattern. Let's have a look at the impulsive move here. We have from here to here and from here to here. With live grid off, it's telling us how far D is from this ratio, and that's currently 40 points away. With live grid on, it's telling us how far the current market is away from that point. You'll see it's now 72 points, so an extra 32 points there, which will be the difference between here and here. The reason for this feature is at this point we might like to know how far D's progressed and check it, but we would like to have a live grid so that we always have an accurate representation of whether we're currently near a relevant level. That concludes the GeoKing Basics tutorial. For more information, visit www.activeindicators.com.